All right, imagine this. It's New Year's Eve. You're home, in your bed. The house is locked up tight. You're half asleep when you hear the fireworks going off in the distance. No big deal, right? Then you feel it. Someone's watching you. You open your eyes. A dark figure, dressed in black, mask on, standing perfectly still. Before you can even scream, he's on top of you. He's beating you, zip tying your hands behind your back, strangling you. And the last thing you hear before everything goes black?
You're going to regret this. You've really done wrong now.
He continued to hit me, pistol whip me. He'd strangle me a few times to the point of where I knew I was about to pass out. I kept wondering who would want to do this to me.
Morgan is kicking, fighting, doing anything she can to survive, but he's too strong. Her attacker had brought zip ties with him already, pre-looped and intertwined. He put Morgan's hands behind her back, slipped them on and tightened them. He strangles her twice until she almost blacks out. At this point, she's convinced she's going to die.
I kept thinking, what is going to happen to my kids? I haven't done a will. I haven't talked to my family about who gets them. They're not going to have a mom.
Morgan's attacker sexually assaulted her. She had no idea who it was, maybe a random burglar. In addition to the mask, the intruder had taken great pains to disguise himself. Black hoodie jacket, black pants, black gloves. He said very, very little, but when he did, Morgan says he seemed to be disguising his voice, making it sound low and angry. Like the Batman movies, he also seemed to know about Morgan's personal life, specifically her recent divorce. Then the attacker asked for her phone and the passcode. Morgan's house had an alarm system which she'd set before going to bed. There was an app on her phone that controlled it, along with several security cameras around her home and a locked door on the second floor, which led out to a back porch. Then she heard a door lock open, which was for the back porch. How is it he knew how to unlock the door remotely through that app on Morgan's phone? He said something about her husband.
Oh, you're going to miss your husband.
The intruder's voice was cold and demanding as he rummaged through Morgan's belongings, tearing through her drawers with ruthless intent. "Where do you keep your valuables?" he demanded. "Where's your jewelry?" His hands moved frantically, pulling out items, scattering them across the room in his desperate search for anything of worth. After ransacking her house, the intruder covers Morgan's head with a pillowcase. He drags her onto the back porch, and before leaving, he warns her. Then, silence. The door creaks shut. A car engine roars to life, and Morgan is left standing there, naked, zip-tied, blindfolded, on her own back porch. Do not get up until you hear 2 car honks, or I'll kill you. Morgan's property was secluded, with little chance of a neighbor seeing or hearing her on the back porch. "40 minutes passed, then a sound in the distance struck terror in Morgan all over again. She hears somebody walking up, unable to see. She feared her attacker had returned to finish the job. She hear them shuffling, walking, and they hit the stairs. That's when Morgan heard a very familiar voice. "Oh, honey, What happened? Morgan's grueling ordeal was finally over, and who would turn out to be her rescuer? It was her ex-husband, Rod Metzer. Morgan's ex-husband immediately called 911. Morgan's ex-husband, Rodney Metzer, was calling for help. He told dispatch someone had attacked Morgan. He stayed by her side. He even comforted her until the police arrived. "I'm right here. You're safe now." For a moment, he looked like a hero. Morgan said she had no idea who her attacker was when the attack began. But then came one critical moment when he said, "You're going to miss your husband." Morgan said, "No, don't hurt my husband. I love him very much." The mood of the room changed when her attacker lifted Morgan off the
Something from years earlier. I was pregnant with my kids, my twins, and sometimes you have to get help out of the bed. The way he gently held me and got me out of the bed. It was so familiar that I was like, this is him. I know it's 100% him. I wasn't going to let him know that I knew it was him. So if he did, then I didn't know what he was going to do.
Sergeant Dakota Livers was a detective with the Cherokee County Sheriff's Department in 2021. He had a lot of questions. Exactly why had Rod gone to Morgan's home in the middle of the night? He had his own apartment now since the divorce. Rod said he'd received an eerie message about Morgan that night. He was getting ready for bed. He was brushing his teeth when he heard knocking on his window. That knocking was accompanied by a voice in which he could only decipher the word Morgan. Rod said he tried calling Morgan, but she didn't answer. He worried something was going to happen to Morgan. Rod told investigators he'd gotten in his car and made the 12-minute drive over to his ex-wife's house. Someone knocks on his window in the early morning hours of New Year's Day. Investigators weren't buying this "someone tapped on the window" story, and when they asked why was Rodney at her house at 3 a.m., how did he just happen to show up right after the attack, his answers didn't add up. So they started digging, and what they found was horrifying. Morgan shared her suspicions with investigators. She didn't know if they would accept what she was telling them. Sergeant Livers told her he believed her. Investigators asked Rod to come down as a witness to help them understand how this occurred. As a formality, they asked for Rod's phone. Rod handed his cell phone to the investigators. They found a folder on the phone with images of Morgan partially dressed, a lot of photos of Morgan nude. She didn't know he was taking those photos of her. They took him into custody and ordered search warrants. They booked Rod for taking those pictures of Morgan and her texts. But since Morgan had a home security system, how did the attacker get in without setting off the alarm? The attacker entered through a basement window. The window had an alarm sensor that was removed and put together on the windowsill, so it would not trigger an alarm. Investigators believed Rod had disabled the sensor while he was staying at Morgan's. There was other video from prior to the attack. The camera on Morgan's front porch caught Rod earlier that evening. He had sent a picture of a check he placed underneath the front porch was for $56,000, a trick to get her to come home. Morgan did return to the house, retrieve the check. Morgan's attacker took that check with him. It was never found. Rod's check would have bounced. He was broke. They found a key piece of evidence after executing search warrants on Rod's car and his apartment. bag of zip ties, and a portion of a zip tie before arriving at her house. Morgan's attacker had pre-looped the zip ties he put on her wrists. The zip tie was unique, with 2 other zip ties that had been ratcheted onto it and then cut. And so basically what we were looking at was a zip tie that had 2 extra heads. The zip tie tail found in Rod's apartment lined up with one of the extra heads on Morgan's. They were able to match this tail to one of the heads on the zip tie from Morgan's wrist. The striations on the tail found in Rod's apartment lined up exactly with those on Morgan's zip tie. Investigators examined Rod's browser history. The searches were very disturbing. He was researching how to change your voice, how long to choke somebody unconscious. The searches also included how to crack an iPhone password, how to get sympathy from your ex. Rod also searched for cancer diagnosis letters. Investigators searched Rod's outgoing emails there. They found Rod had set up a fake email account to create the pancreatic cancer diagnosis letter he'd shown to Morgan. He had created a bill for a doctor's office to show that he was being treated all of this in to convince Morgan that he had cancer. He wasn't sick at all. No, he did not have cancer. He faked the cancer diagnosis as a way to try to get Morgan back and to get access to her house. I've got a bit of Rod's interview. They talked to him about his health.
Again, how did you tell her that this cancer thing?
I don't know if I should talk to you guys anymore. I'm starting to have a bad feeling. What angle you guys are coming? I've already learned something about you, that your facial expressions and you keep scratching yourself when you get agitated by what I say.
Has there been a time recently where you were interested in how you can change the sound of your voice?
Maybe.
Tell me about that.
I felt like voice wasn't manly enough.
The most significant thing that we found in your apartment was a collection of zip ties.
Zip ties.
Black zip ties.
Zip ties.
Zip ties. I know you don't. We have them now. These are identical to the ones that were binding Morgan's wrists.
This is starting to get squirrely.
We compared that microscopically to the zip ties that were on Morgan's wrists when the deputies found her. And wouldn't you know it, it is a perfect cut.
There's something funny going on here.
Rodney Metzer wasn't Morgan's rescuer. He was her attacker. He staged the entire attack. He beat her, zip-tied her, and then rescued her so she'd take him back. Why? Because after their divorce, Morgan had moved on, and Rodney refused to accept it. The zip ties? Bought on his credit card. His phone? Pinged near her house before the attack. The Batman voice? Rod Metzer was charged with 10 counts related to the attack on Morgan, including home invasion, kidnapping, aggravated assault, and sexual battery. Rodney Metzer was sentenced to life in prison. But for Morgan, the real battle wasn't just in court. It was healing from the trauma. Her worst nightmare was someone she once loved. This case is a chilling reminder. Abuse doesn't always end after a breakup. Obsession can turn violent. And sometimes the rescuer is the real danger. Morgan now shares her story, hoping to help others see the warning signs before it's too late. Red flags. matter. If your ex still tries to control you after a breakup, take it seriously. Security is everything. Change your passwords, locks, and never ignore gut feelings. Tell someone, even if you're scared, even if you think you're overreacting. You don't have to go through this alone.